I'm Alex Pius with the Asbury Park Press and the Fan Theory Podcast. Thank you so much, Jordan, Joey, and James, for talking to me about Cabin Fever today. Really excited to be talking with you about the film.
Super excited to talk about it.
Awesome. So,
have you tried my sweaty balls?
I'm doing my best NPR voice right here. It's the 15th anniversary of Cabin Fever this year, which is just crazy to me. I'm sure it's crazy for you guys too. What is your first memory of the script for Cabin Fever? Like when you first got this, first found out about this film, how did you initially react when you read everything that was planned and that was going to be going down in this movie?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll start. It was totally disgusting, and there was nothing like it out there that I had read. But when I got to the part where dogs eat people, I was like, fuck yes. This is awful and awesome at the same time. So that was kind of that jumped me in.
And James, what about you?
I've never read the script.
He's not lying.
So every line was just improv then?
No, that was scripted. No.
We just had to tell him, Jimmy,
Bullshit,
now you
bullshit,
say
my
this.
part.
No, I did stop reading it after I died. I always thought that was sort of...
Did you see the movie?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
cool.
watched it twice. I laughed a lot.
At yourself? The nougat?
My favorite scene in the movie that made me laugh the most was the deer.
Oh, the deer on the car?
Yeah, the deer.
That was pretty funny.
I really
That was
The
pretty
legs
good.
coming in.
That was pretty good.
It's so fake looking.
definitely laughed out loud. And the banjo guys at the end, that was pretty funny too.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Harmonica in the throat. It's good.
Yeah, the harmonica gag is great.
I can answer that. I read it. I just thought it was really funny. I thought it was a comedy because I kind of knew Eli a little bit, and I just thought, and I think I called him. I guess we were on there was no texting yet, or maybe I emailed him or something, and said, "Oh, dude, this is so funny. I love this," And I think I don't think it was supposed to be a comedy. I think he was like, "Oh yeah, but it's like gory and stuff too." And like, "Oh yeah, but it's really funny, right?" So I think it's really funny.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I think it's more. I mean, I always think of it as a horror comedy.
Oh, absolutely. And when you watch it with an audience, especially like when you watch it in a movie theater, it has a feel of like an Evil Dead style horror comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The gore is so in your face and over the top, and the characters are funny. Like it plays as much as a comedy as it does as a horror movie. So I think your initial read of the script was dead on.
Eli hasn't gone back to any kind of comedy stuff like that. I mean, he did Hostel, which was torture porn.
Yeah.
And I thought Hostel 2 had some comedy in it, but he really hasn't tried to do any kind of horror comedy again, has he?
I mean, Knock Knock had a bit of comedy in it with because Keanu's performance was definitely. It was
I gotta see
was
that.
Nicolas Cageian in its over the topness, but in a very intentional way. Like I think Knock Knock definitely had elements of comedy, but yeah, it's not something he's gone back to all that much. So what was this was Eli's first feature. What was the vibe like on set between all you guys, and balancing all like the gore and the horror with the comedic side of things?
We had a blast on set. It was a lot of fun. We were all hot young
tubbing.
kids. And we had a great time. Eli was, for a first-time director, and the movie was kind of being funded every day as we went along. He was really relaxed and had a lot of fun, and showing he had a lot of great composure, and so it made us kind of have a lot of fun. And I don't think that we knew neither of us had too much experience to know that we could be nervous. I think.
I didn't know. Like, I was a little concerned, but then he showed us the dailies, and they were so beautiful, and so from that point on, I was like, wow, this guy really kind of knows what he's doing, and the camera department was extremely impressive. I mean, they would, this doesn't sound like anything to anybody these days, but when you shoot on film, it's like expensive and time consuming, and we got 47 setups a day, which is, and changing mags and shooting short ends, which is like unheard of. But they're beautiful shots, impressive, and I think we also were lucky to shoot there in the fall. It was just so beautiful. So.
That's awesome. And yeah, the cinematography in the film is very, very impressive. Like,
Yeah.
you go back and you watch it today, and it's really striking looking film. Now, James, there's one particular scene I wanted to ask you about, and it's one word, and people in the audience will know what I'm talking about when I say it, and that's pancakes. When you guys were filming that scene on that day with the Kung Fu Kid and pancakes and all that, did you ever just ask Eli or anyone else on set, like, what the hell is this? Because that's one of the big WTF moments of the movie for me. For as gory and as weird as the movie gets, the Pancakes Kid for me is just the big head scratcher of cabin fever.
I mean, I just assumed it was exactly that scene to be thrown in there, or I think he was coming at me. Initially, it was just random him like coming and biting me.
Yeah.
There was no.
It was like a
karate.
normal
And
kid.
then the karate came into effect because the kid auditioned, and he's like, your special talent's karate, and then the kid did karate in the audition room. So then you're like, I guess we'll just throw that in there.
Some slow motion karate
Yeah.
with this kid. And they actually cut his hair a little bit to give him bangs, I
Yeah.
think.
Sometimes people
He
would
had, like,
confuse
really
me
long,
and that kid.
Pretty hair. Yes.
I was confused on set for a bit. I was like,
Yeah.
when did Jordan learn karate? But I think that what the pancakes line, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like, it was in the script, but I think it was like, so much of this was from like Eli and Randy's like friends or something. Kids.
a random inside joke that they had, I believe, or something they would just say over and over.
Yeah.
I don't know the thing of it, but then I also think, I know that the karate part of the pancakes scene was completely just thrown in there randomly by the fact that the kid that was his special talent, and I guess that's what got him the role.
Yeah.
And then it was just like,
Well,
all right, why
yeah,
not
there
do
was-
a little slow motion? I don't think anybody was prepared.
Yeah.
There was
How to
another
do this
kid
so
that was so he gave an amazing audition there, and it was almost this other kid.
Karate, yeah.
Yeah, but then the karate put it over the top for. The other
So
kid.
that's if you're trying to make it in the movie world, learn karate. Those special skills on your resume can really kind of get you through the door.
Special skills: speaks French, knows karate,
Yeah.
willing to get a haircut.
But let me just see this. What's this karate thing? Can we see some?
That's so funny. That's so funny. So, does any of the folks in the audience have any questions for our Cabin Fever cast here? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Just how did you all get involved in the project initially? Did you have any hesitation with like a first-time unknown director?
I went and auditioned. My manager read the script and thought it was really cool. It was a throwback to his, I guess in the sense he was a big fan of 70s horror films, and he was like, I think this will be really cool. And the casting director of Cabin Fever casted me in a movie called Detroit Rock City.
Joe Adams.
Joe Adams.
He died. He was a wonderful person.
It's so dark. Yes.
Well,
I stopped working. No. I'm one fan.
In fact, Tim Sullivan that worked on that, he's from around here.
Oh
yeah.
So,
So that's basically, and if you've already worked with a casting director before, and he was really into this guy, and Eli's not just like a guy just making a movie. He had an impressive resume in the sense of he went to NYU Film School. He worked for David Lynch. He worked for, been working in film I guess worked for Joe Dante.
His short at NYU had won the Student Academy Award.
Yeah.
So he'd done. I remember I've heard Jimmy's audition story where Jimmy came in and Eli said that he sat down and he read it, and Eli was like, "Oh, it's pretty good." And Eli said, "Jimmy, can you stand up and do it?" And Jimmy apparently went, "No." And Eli was like, "That's when I knew that he was Bert."
But Bert was written for a much larger man.
You gained a lot of weight.
Oh
for
yeah,
him,
there was the
didn't you?
real Bert. I forgot.
Yeah, real Bert.
Yeah.
I mean, larger man isn't six, like a big.
Oh,
yeah. 6'6", what is his name? Jeff. It was like a
Yeah,
real
yeah.
life high school friend of his. And he was like, looked like a defensive end, like super tall, like big guy. So there was a lot of really big guys in the audition, like football player size, like muscular dudes. And so I had to do something special. I didn't do karate, so I just sat through I wouldn't stand up for him. I think that would seemed to go for the character. You get a lot of auditions in between the lines. What about you, Jordan?
Oh, I forgot.
How'd you get involved?
Oh, well, I wanted to just meet Eli, and there were a bunch of people in there in this weird warehouse in the middle of Sun Valley or something. And then we started talking about the episode of Survivor the night before. It was very epic. A guy like burned himself, and
Yeah, I remember that.
and we just there were like 6 people in the room, but Eli and I were. It was like the two of us. We really connected, and then we just found a flow. But originally, I came in to see him for Serena's role, and he just did not see me that way. So we had that connection, and then he said, I know you came in for this, but I think you're more Karen. So that's kind of how that went down.
Wasn't it also 9/11? Didn't you guys also go and wasn't the auditions in LA like on September 11th?
No.
2001?
I think that might have been.
I'm pretty sure that would have been the lead story.
I know, but I think
Other
Serena.
than the episode of Survivor. Forget 9/11. Let's talk about Survivor.
I think Serena
Callback
when
or
Oh, she
whatever.
did?
was yeah, and I remember there was some story about because it was right around that same exact time, but
Yeah, we had filming it like the first week or in October, or
Right.
the middle of October.
Oh yeah, I met Jimmy at the airport, and I was really scared to fly, and I asked him to hold me on the flight. Like, hi, nice to meet you. Can you hold me? And he said yes.
Yeah. But it wasn't like that she met me and asked me. I got like a call from my agent that like there's gonna be a girl
Oh.
there. She has a contractual request.
That's not true.
I literally had a.
It was
I know.
it was in the rider.
I'm serious. I knew
You
of
had to
this. I knew
fulfill
this
the
was
holding?
coming. Do you mind sitting next to and like? She's really terrified of flying.
Was that also on the special skills of the
Yes,
resume?
exactly.
Can help cast members through flights?
He hasn't cuddled me since.
To answer the question, my older brother was a couple years ahead of me at NYU, and Eli was his RA, and Eli's younger brother Gabe was my brother's best friend and roommate in school, and so when they were casting the movie, I was doing plays and stuff in New York, and Gabe, I had met Eli a couple times, but he was older and had, I think, been banned from ever coming back to the dorm, and for like using the copy machine too much. Eli was casting and said, "Why don't you put yourself on tape?" And so I did, and got the job. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know when I saw Cabin Fever in theaters when it first came out, it was one of the first times we had seen Ryder Strong kind of outside of the like Disney Channel mold. And you guys as a cast all had great chemistry together. What was it like working with Ryder? Not to speak of someone who isn't here, not that we haven't been doing that all day, but what was it like working with Ryder? Because this is one of his first like adult performances that a lot of audiences had seen him in.
I'd never seen Boy Meets World, so I just knew Ryder as
Okay.
his character.
I think that was a different generation from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a pro.
My
I mean,
wife watched that show a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a little bit younger than us, but
I
she
bet.
she was like, oh yeah, I watched it like every day after school. I think we were more like if it was like Mark Paul Gosselaar
That's right.
from Saved by the Bell might have been more like what you're asking, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. So this film had a lot of gore effects. What was it like working with the makeup and the gore effects and dealing with that element on set as well?
They were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, K&B Effects, and I've worked with them before. Greg Nicotero,
Mhm.
who does Walking Dead, obviously. I mean, everybody knows Nicotero, but that was my first time with that stuff, and I got my head cast, and
Yeah.
it was it freaked me out. I was pretty claustrophobic and uncomfortable. But when you have that kind of those appliances put on, it's very time consuming, so you get close to your makeup artist, and he was an awesome guy because it was 4 hours on and 2 hours off. But
What
there's
was that dude's name? I thought the coolest part was that he actually was the guy that made the prosthetic penis for
oh yeah, for Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
He made the penis.
Yeah.
So good.
What was it?
Greg or Grant, or what was the guy's name? Grant, right?
I think it's
Yeah, Grant.
Yes.
Good dude.
So what was it like, acting under that much makeup and prosthetics on the face?
Oh, I mean, I sobbed when I saw myself, and I those teeth were glued on, so I couldn't talk or speak or eat or do anything or smoke, which was like a priority for me. But yeah, I don't.
We had to put cigarettes up Jordan's nostrils so that she could get her nick. No, it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, it was. But Eli was like, I love you like this. You're more beautiful than ever. He's so sick.
That's what you want to hear from a director.
Other than that, I think we had a pretty easy comparison to the. I mean, we just had like blood.
I think-
like a chest plate
Yeah.
thing, but yeah.
For when you were getting shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got shot, but I was just sitting there, but they had like filled a machine with a bunch of blood and guts and whatnot. So I was
Oh,
cool
yeah.
watching them fill it up, and I got to press the button, blow my head against the wall. But other than that, it was like, the one thing is, even like the littlest amount of blood in a really cold weather,
Oh, it was so uncomfortable.
it gets to you. But they were really amazing. Learned really cool tricks to take it off really quick. And they were pros, so they made it pretty painless. Pretty great.
That's good to hear. Joey, did you ever argue for your character to survive to the end of the movie? Because he gets so close.
He gets really close, doesn't
He gets so close.
No, I don't think so. I didn't think that there would be any sequels or anything. No, I liked the way that he died. I thought I was excited to film that and do the riddled with bullets and stuff like that. It was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience?
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir. You in the back in the Sonic T-shirt.
Yeah, what was the scariest part of the film, in your opinions? One
Wa-
by one.
Watching it. Watching it?
You mean like the actual
Well, I
like
was
filming it or the
watching it.
watching part?
Or what sequence in general?
I think, just the dog, anything to do with the dog
Yeah.
was scary.
Well, because you couldn't
On
look at
set.
the dog.
Because you couldn't,
Because he
it was
could
an
kill
actual
you.
police dog. That you couldn't, look in the eye or anything like that.
Same
Uh,
here, especially Marcy's death.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything revolving, involving the dog, because it was actually scary on set. It was a Belgian Mal, which are
Yeah,
these
that was
super, crazy police dogs. And yeah,
Well, you know what was really...
it was a trained dog, but yeah, it was.
That
And
was
it wasn't like
scary.
a movie dog. It wasn't like, oh, this dog can pretend to be. It was an actual cop dog.
There's a guy down the street that's got this fucking crazy dog. We could ask
He
him.
speaks German. He knows German commands.
So yeah, that was the scariest to watch and the scariest to film.
But the scariest thing was Joey got really injured,
Oh.
and that was actually hard on my nerves because I was so worried about him. But he got glass in his eye, and then he got re-injured. So if you watch the movie again, he's in profile a lot. But he was such a fucking trooper that he bounced back to work the next day with one eye working, acting his ass off.
Well, thank you, Jordan.
So how did that happen? The onset injury.
The first time was the
Yeah, which
the effects guy they put charges on the glass. So when the hermit guy is in the car and I go to break the window, the way that they do it is these little charges hit the glass just as you're going through, and so that you don't have to actually smash the glass. But he put the charges up too high, and so when I went to hit it, the glass exploded and shards, like little pieces, went in my eyes. And luckily we had that was the night we were setting someone on fire as well. So there was an ambulance on set. So I feel like I almost got a concussion as well because it was like a bit of a confusion of what was going on. But there was an ambulance, and then I spent the night in the hospital where they were flushing my eyes out. There was some glass had gone into not into my pupils, but into the white part, and they weren't sure if it had gone all the way through because there's different layers. It was a whole night, but it was. And then when I was finally better, we did we did blood drops in my eyes, and then the guy that was doing the effects left and didn't wash out my eyes properly, and so I woke up the next morning, my eyes were swollen shut, and so I couldn't shoot for another few days, and finally when my eyes cleared, we were shooting a scene with Serena that actually later got cut, but we're in an argument, and I walk out this door, and as I walked out the door, this shutter was on a hinge, and it came up and hit me in the eye, so I had this huge shiner on my eye, and that's why I had that handkerchief, like Jordan saying, a lot of it was, they were like, we just have to shoot you. We just have to figure out how to shoot you with this black eye, this huge shiner. So a lot of it is me just kind of looking out the window like, oh, we're going to get that guy. We're going to get him. He's out there. And it's just like the left side of my face. But sorry, to go to what the scariest part for me to watch was sitting in the premiere with my parents and having to watch the scene where Serena sticks her finger in my ass. That was probably the scariest part for me.
I forgot.
Yeah.
So there were a couple more hands for questions. Yes, sir, in the front.
What were your thoughts on the remake, and did you see it?
Nope.
I don't think any of us have seen it. Have you seen it, Jimmy?
I haven't seen it.
No.
I'm very curious about
wait a sec.
Deputy Winston's part
Oh.
in that, though, since she's in the government now.
Yeah.
No, actually, wait a sec. I might have watched a little bit of it. I might have. Yeah, I think I watched a little bit of it.
Aren't you in it?
No, I'm not. I did watch a little bit of it. It was like it was on, and I was like, oh, I watched a little bit of it.
I'm in this.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the wrong one.
But it seemed cool. I just wanted to see one of the death scenes because I heard that was pretty much the only thing that was different. They changed all the death scenes of the way people die or in the order of people.
How was
In
it?
order, that's what I
Yeah.
heard.
Has anyone in here seen it?
I thought it was
On
unnecessary.
Showtime when I had it maximum,
Yeah.
I took it off.
I just thought it was unnecessary. Like,
Yeah.
The movie just came out. Like, why would you need to remake
Well, I
it?
mean,
Right.
Spider-Man. I mean, how many?
Yeah, Spider-Man's coming out.
Spider-Man.
I changed it.
Are they on the 5th remake of Spider-Man? 4th remake
Yeah.
of Spider-Man.
Toby Maguire's not doing it anymore?
He's always my Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For Joey,
Yes.
the handkerchief, do you
Yeah.
still have it? Do you display it proudly as you should?
Oh, that was one thing. The props guys were fantastic, but they kept giving me a different handkerchief, and I was like, can I just have the same one? Because you can tell like it kind of looks different in some scenes, but no. So there was kind of a multiple.
And that was your idea to do that, right?
I believe it was. I mean,
Yeah.
Eli was like really good about like let's find these characters, and I think even like with Jimmy,
Yeah.
the hat that he wears, we had gone to see some local band the guy had. I feel like the guy in the band had an FU hat.
No, he had a hat that said "FU" on it, and I was like, I want that hat for the movie. And then they went and were like, can we have this hat? for the
Eli went
movie?
up to the dude and was
Yeah,
like,
they went up. The producer and I think Eli both went up to him. They were playing a show, and they went up to him, and in exchange for the hat, for the length of shooting, they got I think 2 songs, and they are in the movie. They're the band playing the banjo in the end scene there.
no, that was
No,
a
that's
different,
a different
band.
band.
One of them's in there.
No,
I
'cause
feel like
those
one
were the
guy-
guys from the Shed.
Okay.
Yeah, those.
So
Yeah.
there is 2, but they have 2 songs in the movie.
Do they? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they do.
I
I
think they're
think
the
they do,
title.
yeah.
The title, I think.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
They got their hat back, and those guys from that band ended up moving. I ended up being like at La Poubelle, this restaurant in Hollywood that I busboyed at when I was a kid.
They're the Killers now.
Yes, they were.
They don't know from your mid-2000 references, Joey.
The Killers are. They played New York City.
They're
Central
the Strokes.
Park.
The Strokes.
Yes, they literally just played.
Killers with the Strokes
The
and
Beatles.
the Hives.
They were
yeah.
the Beatles. And that band was John Lennon.
Yes.
Who we took the hat from.
Any other questions, guys? Yes, sir.
Yeah, the extent of the bloody, gory effects, was that all in the script? Did you know what to expect at the time, pretty much, or?
Jimmy said, "Yeah, you didn't even read the script, dude."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there was like blood splatters on my script.
No, it was gory. You said you read it. It was gory. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I told him it was gory.
Yeah, she told me. It was gory.
No, but I'd never worked with stuff like that before, so I didn't know what that involved. But yeah.
I think the shaving scene and your face.
My crotch.
Yeah. Yes.
Which I forgot about. Someone reminded me yesterday.
It was your.
I don't remember. I feel like when I read a script, a lot of times it's just the dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, then you have to kind of go back and like, oh yeah, what's happening here? But I'm sure it was.
So, seeing as we're at a horror convention and film festival, were you guys horror movie fans before Cabin Fever? And if you are fans of horror movies, what do you look for in a great horror movie?
What did I like? I was a big fan. I don't know. I liked Poltergeist when I was a kid, and like all the Freddy movies.
Yeah.
I'd like to be really scared. And I like the comedy aspect. I don't like
Yeah.
I don't like being told to jump. I like more of a like Omen kind of vibe.
Yeah, I really like when people can kind of meld the genre of the whole horror and the comedy. You know, I'm not a big slasher kind of
Yeah.
fan, but I think Edgar Wright does great stuff.
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
comedy
for sure.
side, and it's a really cool balance. And,
I liked Get Out.
Oh, Get Out was so good.
So good.
is that a horror movie? It's scary. It's a political horror movie.
Yeah, but it's really smart.
It's a great
I
movie.
mean,
No, it's
yeah,
a great movie.
yeah. Smart movie.
Would you guys consider Get Out a horror movie?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
You would?
So.
Well,
Oh,
they
see
all die
it.
in
It's
the end.
actually really.
Why would you consider what is the criteria for a horror movie then?
It's
Well,
subjective.
why-
Really, I mean,
Sexuality which leads to death.
That doesn't happen in
Alcoholism
Get
which
Out.
leads to death.
Yeah.
That
Well,
doesn't-
one could argue that it does happen in Get Out, though.
What?
The sexuality that leads to
Yeah,
death.
She's luring in these guys.
Because Allison Williams' character is luring in these guys.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't think that he like was like, oh, I'm gonna use this trope, from horror to I think it was more just that he, wanted to tell this political story about racism and
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think all great horror has those elements. You know what I mean? It's like a story within a story,
Sure.
and it's just they use the genre to kind of magnify the message, but subvert it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's for me. That's good horror. Otherwise, like a body count and slasher shit. Like I don't like to see that. But it sticks with you when it's about something more.
Absolutely. Like Get Out really reminded me of the original Night of the Living Dead in that it used the language of horror movies to convey a message and
Yeah.
a commentary on society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the iTunes horror genre. Get Out is number 4 right now. It says it's horror. I guess. I don't know. I would have.
Well, if iTunes says so.
If
I
iTunes said
squirmed
so, I
when
would've
they
put it
were
Kids and
cutting
Family.
people open and changing brain. Oh, I
Spoilers
sorry, I
if you
didn't.
haven't seen
Yeah,
Get
look,
Out.
he's covering his face. Sorry about that.
I would. I'm looking at their other genres. I would say Get Out is more of a thriller.
But see, that's a classy, that's how they sell a classy horror movie, is they call it a thriller or suspense, but so that it can be thought of by an academy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they don't like to use the word horror a lot
Yeah.
of times because they think but look at the movie It, that's a horror film, and it's like a
Yeah.
huge, enormous hit, so
Yeah.
that'll help
Yeah.
open the door a little more.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. And where we're from, everybody wants to have a horror movie because they make so much money. They
They
just
don't cost a lot to make.
they don't cost a lot to
Yeah.
make, and yeah.
All those Conjuring movies and
Yeah.
Annabelle.
The thing that is the killer is comedy. Nobody wants you. Nobody, oh, you made a
But
comedy.
the problem
Nobody's gonna
with
buy
comedy, but it's dated. You know what I mean? Airplane holds up because it's physical comedy, but I like Ben Stiller, and I'm very excited to see this drama he's going to be in. But that's comedy can be dated. Because comedy always evolves, and I think
that. Right.
that's
Well, it's also it's more subjective.
of
I
its
think,
time.
right? Like people in this part of the country might laugh at something that other people
Yeah.
might not
Right,
find funny.
right, in Europe, it's like hard to sell a comedy.
Yeah. Speaking of comedies, I have a comedy out right now. It's called Big Bear. And
I was just
available
gonna,
on
I was just
iTunes.
gonna ask, what do you guys have to promote?
Well, I'm
What's
promoting
next?
Big
Go right
Bear.
ahead.
Came out in 10 major cities this weekend. It's also on iTunes and Amazon. I was just looking. We're number 9 on the charts on iTunes.
Congratulations.
In the independent section. And yeah, so please, it's on iTunes, Amazon, all kind of VOD and stuff. And then yeah,
I'm
That's my
promoting
plug.
that movie as well.
I am too.
thank you guys.
We are all
I'm
promoting.
putting a post up on Instagram. That was my promotional.
We're all promoting Big Bears.
Thank you.
So does anyone else have any questions about Cabin Fever for our illustrious panel here,
Or Big Bear.
or Big Bear?
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much
Awesome.
for
Well,
coming
this,
out.
Yeah,
this was an
thanks, you
absolute pleasure.
guys.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for chatting. This
Thanks,
was
Alex.
a blast. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the New Jersey Horror Con and Film Festival. Thank you, everybody.